The worst documentaries came out about YouTuber EDP445. You would think that he would be who the internet is calling the villain. But the internet is turning their sights onto somebody else that was a part of catching EDP445 and claiming he's actually the biggest villain of them all.
I feel like I was a victim of EDP, but I think I was mainly a victim, this is gonna sound crazy, but mainly a victim of JiDion.
YouTuber JiDion claimed for years that he didn't know exactly the full story behind the whole EDP445 situation. But he did claim that there was going to be a documentary that would come out that would reveal all and make his name look so much better.
I think the documentary.
Yeah, that it made your name look worse, dude.
The documentary is gonna tell all.
But now that the documentary is out and claims are being made on his name, even some of his biggest fans and supporters are starting to turn their back on JiDion.
I am a huge fan of JiDion's content. I watch almost every single one of his videos, but after watching the EDP445 documentary and seeing all the details that was released on how he and JiDion botched the EDP445 situation that they had, and the way that he treated the victim, Kayla Hoskins, it really is starting to make me question if JiDion...
Yeah, facts. He put Kayla in a compromising position and allowed her to get groomed. Facts.
is really a good person.
And even though JiDion has come out making a video with receipts proving that everything that Kayla said wasn't 100% factual and that she's actually targeting him, there are still fans that are coming for his head because they're not really questioning JiDion.
Yeah, that's crazy. We didn't see the video JiDion did, but yeah, apparently he's calling her a liar.
Involvement in the content of it all when it comes to the EDP445 catch. They're asking themselves, has JiDion really changed and banned his old ways as a content creator for the better of him and society? If you're new to this and you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. It's going to go a long, long way. We're like really close to 185. I think we actually might get it today with this upload. You got to be a part of that group that does hit that subscribe button. Now, back into the video. Look, I and other YouTubers have discussed the disgusting nature of the documentary that came out covering EDP445. Not necessarily because of how EDP445's actions were, albeit we can all agree that those were disgusting in and of itself, but the nature as to how they went about doing the documentary and the things that we discovered behind closed doors that got them to even catching EDP445. And this is where JiDion enters the situation. JiDion was a part of one of the first catches, or at least attempts to catch EDP445 in the act of texting underage people, but how he did it was very, and I do mean very, questionable based off of this documentary.
I think I was mainly a victim of JiDion. I feel like I was his puppet because I was just like kind of doing the things he demanded me to do. He encouraged me to keep talking to him.
This is Kayla, the 15-year-old decoy who was actually a 15-year-old in real life that was used in order to catch EDP445 in an investigation about texting a minor. Now, what most people don't know is you can't do that. You can't use somebody that's actually a 15-year-old, somebody who's actually underage, in order to try to get them, the person that is being involved in this underage act, caught up. You have to use a decoy. Like, that's a pretty common thing in this situation. People started questioning the morals and ethics of the different things that JiDion and JiDion would do in order to set up EDP445 before they decided to roll up on him. The documentary raises tons of questions about how Kayla, her mother, the evidence, and the police were all handled by the...
Yeah, the Discord. Yeah, if you guys didn't know, also, what's his name? JiDion had a full Discord full of decoys. Minors, basically.
Dynamic YouTube content creation duo, all for the sake of content. Hell, even JiDion himself even says that they prioritize the content of it all, which would ultimately lead to a non-arrest of EDP445.
I think there possibly maybe could have been different results in this case if me and JiDion did not confront EDP or take the situation into our hands at all. You know, that way, obviously, there's no content there, so it's like,
And so while people were watching a documentary about a disgusting human being, they started to lay down the evidence, lay down the decision-making, lay down what brought these two to this point about how they would go about making this content. And it seems as though they found another villain in JiDion in a movie that was supposed to be about a villain EDP445. The strangest part about all of this is that it is not just people who consume this documentary that know nothing about JiDion who are bringing his feet to the fire. Some of these people are actually fans. These are the people that actually give him the benefit of the doubt in these different situations, yet they are wanting to have questions.
Whitney, how do you feel? I know you're a fan of JiDion. How do you feel about this? Let us know. Hopefully you're still here, dude.
Be answered about the decision making and the choices that were made about this whole investigation that him and JiDion had. What really made me want to look into this story is because JiDion actually does come out and respond to all of the allegations that happened. But even in that response, you have a certain subsection of people who are still looking at him as if he is crazy. This tweet from a Twitter user says, one of these children was predictably groomed by EDP, and JiDion, instead of properly stepping in, used her as a decoy. Huge crime to use minors as decoys. So he could dress up in a cupcake costume with JiDion outside of EDP's dialysis center. Another Twitter user says, I honestly don't know what JiDion thought he was doing when he released his response. Hilariously bad. JiDion's week keeps getting worse. And albeit they do have some credibility there, I don't think that titling a video...
It's crazy that this dude was just getting backlash not too long ago because he got arrested. And now, like, what, 3 weeks later, more backlash because he was using a actual minor as a decoy. I didn't know he actually used a minor. But yeah, JiDion did not change his ways. Nope. Nope.
Yo, I invited a known pred to a Discord server full of minors to see what would happen is probably the way that
Bro, is that really how he fucking titled his video? No way he titled it like that.
you would go about a response video, but hey, you got to get the clicks and the views, right? That's what Skeeter said. Where's the content? So what exactly does his response say? For what it's worth, JiDion does clear things up, but it doesn't address the bigger question that's being asked in the conversation that is new about JiDion. And what has been a he said, she said so far, JiDion drops a response video titled My Side of the EDP doc, in which he provides receipts, Discord messages, iMessages, police documents, and a bunch of different evidence that does help clear his side. He addresses a lot of the serious, and I do mean serious, allegations and narratives that Kayla, the 15-year-old decoy, has placed on him as to his involvement in the whole EDP capturing situation. He starts it off by clarifying the fact that he did not find a 15-year-old and place that person in front of EDP, which I think is actually very good that he did, because a lot of people are running with that narrative.
The reason why I gladly took the blame for EDP meeting her through my Discord, because at the time, I truly believed that's how he found her, and I wanted to take accountability for my role in this occurring. But as it turns out, Kayla herself in the documentary stated that she had already been messaging EDP before I had even ever added him in my own Discord.
He also clears up the conversation about how the communication went down, and more importantly, who played a role in continuing it and how they did that.
Now, fast forward to when I found out about this whole situation. When I first got on the call with her, I let her know I didn't feel comfortable with her talking with her being underage. So I came up with some clever ideas to where we could switch off and I could take over communication and she wouldn't have to. Here's one of those examples that I gave her. Maybe we could say something like, my parents switched providers and I couldn't get my number, so this is my new one. And then it'd be a number that we could text through. And granted, in that call, she did agree that that was a good idea, but she never gave over the communication to me nor Skeeter.
Now, the thing that I would say to JiDion,
And then at that point, just stop everything, bro. Tell her to fucking stop.
and this is speaking to his past self, which in later videos, he's something that he understood and would not do this going forward, is that at that moment, granted, EDP is talking to a 15-year-old, but you have to figure out a way to wipe your hands clean with this situation. Clearly, this is a 15-year-old who has some sort of fandom towards you, a fandom towards the community, all these different things, and how they're going about this is ultimately not going to be beneficial for you. So sure, you got the clicks and views in and of it all. EDP was exposed to a YouTube audience, but the moral and ethical questions come into play. And to be honest with you, rightfully so in some regards, but I just would have moved away from her totally and then set up a separate sting option for EDP 445 in a way that was done properly, as opposed to continue to play around.
Yeah, facts. He could have called the cops or, like, you know, God's help, but no. Views, guys, views, clicks. It's money, man. Not that hella late, Claude hella late. Yeah, you guys are on the list. Sorry. Y'all make the list today. Hello.
Or use a 15-year-old.
I never believed his Christian arc, honestly. Yeah. Me either. Me either.
That is not cooperating with you. Otherwise, we end up in a situation where we're ending up in where there's no actual legal action. And now she is, again, I don't think this is right, calling you out for what you've done. The last two big takeaways from this to me was that JiDion disputes any sort of non-involvement with police. He says that he wanted to get the police involved, tried to get the police involved, got the police involved to some extent, but it just didn't go the way that he thought it would go.
Kayla gave me case numbers and detective numbers to call. I called the detective number and it was disconnected. And it took me like till 3 years later to finally find out what police station she went to and everything. And she really doesn't have all the updates and everything, but luckily, since I deal with police so much, kind of figured it out and figured out where to look. And I can confirm that there is a case number associated with the account, meaning that there wasn't a report made. And also, not only was there a report made, but I confirmed with the police station that this case is currently with the FBI. Now, granted, even though it's with the FBI, I don't know if they're still actively investigating it, and I don't know if they'll do anything with all of this, me personally.
Now it's in a situation where he's totally out of the loop as to what's going on, as opposed to being a part of the investigation. But arguably the most damning thing that he needed to clear up, he did when he went out and disputed the claim about him forcing Kayla to be the bait in the whole EDP sting operation. He actually breaks it down about it being her idea to volunteer herself as tribute.
When I realized something was wrong, I spoke to a moderator in JiDion's Discord server. I explained the situation, and soon everyone in the voice call started asking questions. Someone told Insight about what happened, and he ended up joining the voice call as well and asked me if I wanted to be bait.
Do you guys remember that VC call that I had showed you guys earlier? That's the VC call that she's alluding to. And the people in the VC were coming up with ideas to get EDP to come out in person. And then Kayla decided to give herself up as tribute.
Lure him to a hotel,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I don't mind doing it, and I don't.
Bro, I'm gonna be honest, this whole Discord thing is weird to me. Like, bro, they're talking about an actual PDF file, dude. Like, how to lure him in, how to bait him. What the fuck, dude?
I don't think my parents would mind.
Again, 15-year-old girl.
Wait, what? My parents wouldn't mind?
I mean, to be honest, I don't mind doing it, and I don't think my parents would mind.
Again, 15-year-old.
Bro, she's a kid, dog. She's a kid. JiDion, you as a grown-ass adult, that owns a Discord. You should have fucking shut this down right away, bro.
Oh, girl, I don't expect much. So now that JiDion has said his side with receipts and everything like that, it makes the situation look less black and white. Ultimately, it is a good thing that he had cleared his name of, especially like the decoy allegations and things like that. But a lot of the internet is still raising questions about his involvement, the morals and ethics behind the whole sting operation, and why he would do the things that he did. So you forced a teenage girl to keep interacting with a pred, potentially traumatizing her, so you could get your content, dress up like a cupcake and go viral catching him, and the fat bag of is still free. King stupid. JiDion did this 2 years after Alex Rosen's sting and 3 months before his own sting operation on EDP. JiDion knew what he was doing at the time. This wasn't an accident. After that documentary, no one should even be trying to defend JiDion. Dude's a LARPer. And that's where the criticism becomes bigger than just Kayla. For what it's worth, pred catching is still content. You want the big reveal, you want the allegations, you want the dramatization, you want all of these viral moments. But what people have to understand is that's different than an investigation. And it's quite clear that based off of the actions, that's exactly what JiDion wanted. Less of an actual investigation, but more of a viral moment. Remember, Skeeter Jean even acknowledged that, it wasn't.
I literally said that during the documentary. I said I feel like these people really don't care about catching predators. They just care about their views and clicks. Like if they catch them, send them to the police or jail. Cool, that's a extra point. But if not, it's okay. We still got our clicks.
Any content if we didn't get involved, even if we fumbled the bag. For what it's worth, I do think that JiDion wanted EDP to be caught, but I do think that JiDion decided that, hey, the content is gonna come.
Literally Vitali, bro. Vitali. And something about Vitali, bro, I think he's one of them, in my opinion, allegedly. Look at his group chats, man.
First, when you involve content in these serious matters, sometimes you throw away your morals and your ethics because there is a viral video, a clip, or a banger to follow. Now, normally people would chalk this up to this being years ago, but that's not the case this time either. Literally last month, JiDion admitted that sometimes that content can get in front of my decision-making and judgment calls, and ultimately the end result is worse than it had to be.
What are you arrested for? Disorderly person. You're out here yelling. Disorderly. You're under arrest for being disorderly. Freedom of speech. You can yell on the sidewalk.
This is so cringe to me. Freedom of speech, man. Hey, I'm a millionaire, right?
Causing the scene. On the sidewalk. Yes, officer. How fast do you think this is going to get dropped? Do you really think this charge is going to get? Do you want to waste your DA's time? Call Jake and have him get my lawyer.
Now, I've already covered the situation where JiDion got arrested last month while dealing with Skeeter Jean's grandmother. And I won't go back into that. If you want to watch the video, and it'll all connect there. But ultimately, the story of the arrest isn't the biggest story in and of it all. It's his reaction to the aftermath of the whole situation that is actually very interesting.
I've done a lot of just like inward reflection, and I just kind of came to realize, what I was doing wrong. And also came to realize that truly your boy was spiraling, I was genuinely losing the plot. I had to pay 6+ figures for my lawyer fees. That money could have been used.
Honestly, I don't think he knows what to do with like the content. Because he's always, in my opinion, from the outsider looking in, he's always going through it. He's always going through it, man.
For the betterment of society, but now it's being used in the legal system. I come to realize that, genuinely streaming makes me the worst me,
I think that's a very insightful revelation about JiDion and how the impacts of streaming and streaming culture can make content creators push things to a different boundary. A conversation that I think a lot of streamers and content creators should be having to themselves. In that same conversation, JiDion talks about how seeing a chat say that a stream is boring or unentertaining can make him push things to a different level and go further than it needs to be. And I think that's ultimately something that plagues a lot of streamers and content creators. Bear with me for a second. If you've ever noticed in any of the streamer clips or videos or moments that are going viral, you will see that they will do something, and then immediately after doing something outrageous or saying something outrageous, what is the first thing that they do? They go and they pick up their phone and they look at their phone for a second and they're quiet. The reason why they're quiet is because they are taking in how chat is reacting to said moment.
Yup, facts.
And further down the line, if you notice, they'll do one of two things. They'll see a chat that's positive and say, hey, this is the lane that I should continue to go down. Or they'll see a chat that's negative and they'll try to switch up. And normally their switch up is, let me push a little bit further. That's exactly what JiDion is suffering from, and what I think he's been suffering from for a long time. If you look at JiDion's prankster career, he has made a living and a name for himself, pushing the boundaries over and over and over and over again. And after a situation that got pushed to the extreme limits of somebody that he was pranking getting fired at Target, JiDion decided to turn down that whole lifestyle and turn to a Christian route. He wanted to ditch the prankster content and pick up a Bible. And I'm not questioning that pathway that
turning my life to Christ.
Jesus Christ.
He went down. I think it's actually very admirable that he decided to put that lifestyle away. But ultimately, maybe it was due to chat. Maybe it was because there was this good thing in catching these.
And once he started doing that, the whole turning my life to Christ, he started losing money, bro. He started losing money, views, and that's why he came back to doing what he used to do. because that's what made him money and views.
People that text underage people that he thought was going to be good for him, the extreme content ultimately crept back into his life. Instead of messing with strangers, he decided that he was going to expose these people who are doing these heinous acts. And again, while that is admirable, there's still an element of confrontation, conflict, and other things that still calls for a push to be had. But ultimately, in the lane of the pred catching field, there are some levels of danger that are involved in it that I don't think JiDion or these other people really realize. You see, a prank video can get JiDion kicked out of a grocery store or, you know, a public facility or whatever the case may be. But a pred catch can involve way too many people on serious things and serious allegations. And if fumbled and not done properly, you can ultimately end up in a situation where you've done all this work. Maybe you've got the public embarrassment of it all, but ultimately you just have one more pred walking the streets, not necessarily facing the justice that they should be facing. So when Kayla's allegations came out right after JiDion himself admitted that content can make him push situations further, people started connecting the dots. The content changed, the intentions of it all changed, but people are really questioning whether JiDion's instincts to push the content further ever did change. And that's why JiDion can have a reasonable response to the things that he was involved in with the documentary and people still not want him back. For what it's worth, JiDion's response to the whole situation does clear up a lot of different things. He said that he would take over communication. He said that he didn't push her to the point of, you know, being the decoy. He didn't place this 15-year-old in front of EDP as a means to like use her as some sort of bait. And for what it's worth, I think that that context matters and it should be spoken about. So this isn't about saying JiDion secretly never changed or that his intentions with EDP were evil. That's not why people are turning on him. They're seeing a pattern. JiDion became famous by pushing situations further for content. He eventually tried leaving that behind through Christianity. Then pred catching gave him a reason to make extreme content again. And now we're seeing what happens when the same instincts exist in situations where the consequences are much, much more serious. Skeeter Jean can admit how the content of it all affected their confrontation and approach to EDP. Hell, JiDion wore a full-on cupcake outfit.
Yeah, that's why I think Sagro, he didn't stop. Yeah, that's why I think he's not being genuine. Like, you still wanted the views, the money.
For the confrontation. If that's not screaming content, then I don't know what is. The 15-year-old decoy, Kayla felt as if she was used by the whole process. And just weeks before the whole documentary release, JiDion admitted that entertaining an audience, reading that chat, can get him to do things that he would normally not ever do. Put those morals and ethics away for the content that's supposed to live today. So maybe JiDion did genuinely learn and grow as a person, but now people are questioning whether he learned when that camera needs to be turned off.
I don't know, bro. Is he still doing, let me see, catches?